Hey you guys, okay, so this was actually the live that I had planned for today. I just ended up doing that other live just because I happened by my comment section on that community post, and I just thought, the reaction was interesting. But this was actually the live that I wanted to do today. And I think it's a really important one. I think it will be an opportunity, like a learning opportunity. And it was with a man, a white man, and his name is Matt Crump. And he came to my comment section under my video. I'll show you guys where he came. He came to my comment section under my video titled, "Should Black People," I believe this is what it was titled. Let's look. "Should Black People Leave Predominantly White Neighborhoods?" That was the name of the video. And if you guys recall, I believe this ultimately turned into a panel when I did the video. And so Matt came under that video and he felt some kind of way about, I guess, what I had to say in the video. But what I thought would be interesting about this conversation would be, hey, Jasmine, what I thought would be interesting about this conversation would be kind of talking about what it is like to have conversations with liberal racists, essentially, or racists masquerading as non-racists. And also kind of, because all of my subscribers are not Black. I think this should be said. I have lots of white subscribers too. You wouldn't think it, but because I'm conservative, or because they're curious, or a lot of them started with my channel early on, I do. And I think this is a learning opportunity both for us about why it's futile often to talk to many whites, and my personal feeling about when we attempt to work alongside white people, because a lot of Black people do that, and the pitfalls that can happen there, and also how words and mentalities are weaponized in these conversations with progressive whites, or white people who attempt to say that they are not racist when they are ardently racist. Hi, Here for Truth. So Matt Crump, in response to my video, "Should Black People Leave Predominantly White Areas?" he said, "This is one of the most racist things I've ever heard." So let me read what he said, and then I'll break it down. He said, "This is one of the most racist things I've ever heard. Please argue your counterpoint to give some true perspective on the matter. If a white person were to say this, what would be the outcome? How about we all just figure out how we are equal and neighbors rather than attempt to further divide?" Okay, so like I said, when a white person is racist, but they don't know they're racist. So first of all, this is one of the most racist things you've ever heard. My video, which said that Black people, especially children, can be negatively impacted when they are in areas where they almost never see another Black person. And so it was better for their mental health to at least have access to other Black people and live in areas where they had a community of people that could relate to their experience. That was the most racist thing he has ever heard of. Not the massacre in the Congo of 10 million people. Not the Holocaust. Not the human safaris in the Andaman Islands. But my video on Black people and a discussion over whether or not they should live in areas that are almost completely white, where they may never see another Black person or rarely see another Black person. That is the most racist thing. That is one of the most racist things he has ever heard. I just thought that that was very fascinating. Because there's a lot of racism that goes on. There were lynchings, there was slavery. You know what I'm saying? I mean, Darwin said he wanted to exterminate all the lower races. These are all pretty racist things. But my video was one of the most racist things he ever heard, and that was the first thing that let me know he was a racist. Because racists always, whether they realize they're racist or not, racists always try to minimize your reaction to racism. They always try to minimize your reaction to racism. You guys know that my daughters and I lived in the mountains, okay? And I told you, and even on that video, Mr. was up there with me on the video, and we talked about how the Black children in this area, they literally require, and this is part of the work he does, they require organizations so that they can meet with other Black people because the stress and the racism they encounter is so great that it is overwhelming for them. This is a place where if you have a Black face, if you walk down the street, people stare at you because that is how rarely they see a Black person. Imagine growing up in an environment like that. This is a place, and over on my vlog channel, I did an interview with my two daughters who are mixed, Matt Crump. And this is a place where even a mixed child, a child that is half Black, is told by a little white girl that she would have been her servant in the past. This is that's the type of environment that it is. And that's not healthy for Black children. This is why we don't live in the mountains now. And literally, it is my firsthand experience and the fact that Mr. works with children in these types of environments, which is why we were there, because that's part of his work. And it's hearing the things that happen to these children, the things that are said, you know? Because most of these predominantly white states are not that way because no Black people ever lived there. They are that way because you have states like on the West Coast, you have states like Oregon. Or on the East Coast, you have states where they literally attacked Black people to get them to leave the state, where there were laws where they would be beaten if they were seen on the streets, where they encouraged Black people to leave because they wanted all white states. And so you have Black people who still live there who suffer greatly, and it does not help them. So us having an honest discussion about a problem that white people created and recognizing that there are behaviors that large parts of the community can engage in that are damaging to Black people who are the only ones of their kind, sometimes for miles and miles around. Us having an honest conversation about that is one of the most racist things he ever heard, but it gets better because he made a lot of comments. He felt very strongly about my video. And I want to just go through all of his comments. So he goes, if a white person were to say this, what would be the outcome? That's another thing that racists like to say. These closet racists, these liberal racists, they're like, well, if a white person were to say this, nobody would like that. A white person couldn't do this. You know what I'm saying? As if it's the same thing. I hate when people, it's like if a man says, if a woman says, well, if a man were to do this, or if a man says, if a woman were to do this, it's not an exact equivalent. You know, it's not an exact equivalent, especially not when it comes to white and Black dynamics, especially not in the United States, but even globally, it's not an equivalent. If you go to a place like Australia, where they purposely just killed Black people as part of their social policy, and a Black person says, I'm not really comfortable being around white people. Imagine a white person saying, well, if a white person were to say this, what would that be like? It's like, it's not the same. Our people weren't trying to kill your people for over 100 years. There's no equivalency. It's a false equivalency. If a white person were to say it, what? Did Black people ever have a state where they were attacking white people, beating them with sticks, running them out of the state? When that happens, and then white people get together and have a conversation about how Black people, that's probably not the best environment for them to be in because the social structure, those people are the grandchildren and the great grandchildren of psychopaths, then we can have a conversation about if white people were to say that. But the thing is, white people grow up in Black neighborhoods all the time. And let's keep it real. Let's keep it all the way 100. When white people are in Black neighborhoods, who do they end up hanging out with? Y'all, who do they end up hanging out with? You know what we do. Who do they end up hanging out with? They end up hanging out with Black people. Hell, they even get to start to use the N-word sometimes. They become part of our culture. We don't really treat them like crap. On the whole, we treat anybody who's not Black pretty darn well. We halfway forget you're not Black. This is total false equivalency. So what if a white person were to say it, it would be weird. We haven't done anything to you. We have done nothing to you. And so this was my response to him. You know, we have done nothing to you. So this was my response to him. And then I'll tell you what he responded. But I want to get to why these conversations are unproductive. And honestly, I only engaged in this conversation because I knew I would be able to use it as an example. So he said, I said, racism requires the power to act on another en masse, politically and socially. That is a fact. Anything less than that is just bigotry. But my ability to act in an organized fashion as a collective against another group of people, that is racism. First, I don't believe in race. Everybody who knows me knows I don't believe in race. Europeans came up with that concept to elevate themselves and promote violence against others and invasion of their lands. That is facts. People hold on to it still, but I will not have it superimposed on me. And I feel very strongly about this because the first thing a white person will try to do is make me or you responsible for the race question. Why you want to divide us further? Why you want to do this and that? No, your ancestors did that, okay? It wasn't my idea. I didn't decide to divide up human beings. That was not me. I didn't do that. Your people did that. Don't try to make this my fault. Your people made the bed, and now society revolves around the bed that your forefathers laid. So don't get all down my throat. Like the fact if I use the term Black or white, I'm doing something wrong. This wasn't my idea. I'm just speaking on what it is. My agreement to this is irrelevant. It doesn't matter what I think because it's not how society runs. Society runs the way that your people set it up to run. Right? Society runs the way that they have set it up to run. So my commentary has to be based on the status quo. Not my imaginary view of what I want things to be, but the status quo. But again, they try to make you accountable for the ancestors of their actions. Trying to superimpose, like I said, this on me like I'm the creator. As far as if a white person said it, I would say Black people are more accepting of others than whites, mostly because we do not have a 1,000-year history of being told others are subhuman in comparison to us that we need to unlearn. So the equivalent could not be made. And that in a friendly way, I was just letting him know that for 1,000 years, white people have been told that they are smarter, that they are better than others. And whether they want to accept it or not, That is a behavior that even the most heartfelt white person has to admit they must unlearn. It took hundreds and hundreds of years to teach them. It took multiple generations to teach them that everything revolves around them, that they are better than everybody else. So for you to think that you can be enlightened in generation 1.5 of your people deciding, you know what, maybe this is a bad thing. It's just foolishness. It's going to take more time than that because you have a lot of subconscious behavior that if I try to point it out to you, you're going to get in your feelings about. And this is why it's hard to talk to white people. So I'm trying to say this to him in a way that he won't understand because, you know, they start to close up whenever you say anything that starts to actually sound like the truth. No white person wants to hear, you know, your people have been acting a fool for 1,000 years. It's going to take you guys more than a generation or two to stop behaving that way. You simply saying, let's all get along, isn't going to change the mindset and the culture that you've grown up in. That is something that's going to take time. And so if you, as white people, are any kind of genuine, if you genuinely want this to stop, the first thing would be to accept the fact that you do a lot of shit that is racist without even realizing it, the same way a bird just starts flying if you push it out of a nest. You just start taking up racist wings. You don't even know that you're doing it half the time because it is so ingrained in your culture. But God forbid you point that out because it makes them feel some kind of way. So I'm trying to say it to him in the nicest possible way, understanding that he's not going to comprehend what I'm saying. He's going to shut down because, you know, oh my gosh, I'm not a racist. That's how he feels. I guarantee you that's how he feels. I'm not a racist. So I just let him know a white person saying this, it wouldn't be the equivalent. Black people don't have a history of believing they are superior to white people. Black people don't have a history of being raised by individuals who felt that they had some sort of dominance over white people. So we don't treat other people the way your people treat other people. We are very nice to people, even white people. 99.9% of the time. We are nice when we shouldn't be nice. Non-Black people survive just fine in Black neighborhoods. They're not suffering 99% of the time. I said the problem with racially progressive-minded whites is they often hear what they like and are offended when other groups try to speak about their experiences, rather than listen and pay attention to the comments and experiences people shared. You became offended and defensive. And that is what happened. You are a white person. You saw the video. You can see the panel. You see we are all Black. You chose to sit your happy ass down and watch my video and then get offended. Red Lord, I'm going to talk to you about that. But let's keep it real. He sat down and watched my video. And he was offended when people shared their actual real life experiences. Racially progressive whites, I've told this story a million times because it blew me out the water. I was over on Brother Sanchez's channel. He has an integrated channel, right? He's an integrationist. I love him. Brother Sanchez is awesome. And I was on a panel. It was a mixed panel, and there was a white dude on the panel. And I said, white people came up with the concept of race. And the progressive, non racist white boy goes, we don't know who came up with the concept of race. And I was just like, and this is why we can't accomplish anything together. Because I can't even make an honest statement. You got offended by me simply saying white people came up with the concept of race because you did. So if the only way that we can get along is for me to pretend like reality isn't reality, that's going to be a problem. And that's the problem with these liberal white people who are extra specially racist, but don't think they are racist. Is you came to a channel, you saw an all black panel, you saw the title of the video, and then when we sit there and we talk about our lived experiences and why we feel it is or is not better to be in areas where we never see another black person, you want to get in your feelings. You don't want to listen because you're a racist. See, if you were really about that progressive mindset, you would listen and go, oh my gosh, maybe I see myself in this. Maybe I see people I know in this. Maybe I can internalize this so that I don't engage in these behaviors. But rather than do that, you want to be offended. You know? So he goes, so I said, this is my response to him. I said, honestly, this is why we cannot progress. This is why. Nothing short of a socio-political revolution will work. This is why. Right here is why. We cannot get any further. You and your kind overwhelmingly dislike honest discussion. This is the truth about white people. If you meet a white person who says they are not racist, the only way 98% of the time you guys can get along is if you never bring up anything that white people have done or anything that they do that makes you feel some kind of way. You can never bring it up. The moment you bring it up, they're going to say, we just need to try to not be divided. We just need to, no, you don't get to discredit people and just like ignore everything. Ignoring things is not how this is going to work. This is why we can't get anywhere, because the only way they can really get along with us is if we don't talk about the problem. We have to all pretend the problem doesn't exist. We have to all pretend society has just moved 100% past this and there's nothing to see here, folks, because if we try to talk about it, they're going to get in their feelings. They're going to say we're being racist. And what if a white person said this? This is what they do, these liberal white people. This is why we can't get anywhere with them, because it's disingenuous. It's disingenuous. I said, you and your kind overwhelmingly dislike honest discussion. Rather than accept this feedback is based on over 1,000 years of misbehavior globally by your people and our lived experiences, period. The current social climate is because of your people and how they have behaved globally. And so, yeah, we can talk about it. You can want to move past it. But part of that is going to be you've got to start to listen to somebody else. White people have a problem with that. You don't want to listen to anybody else. You just want to hear yourself. You just want to go, okay, I wash my hands of this. Problem solved. We're not going to be racist anymore. If only we could wave that magic wand. If only it was enough for you to say you don't believe in race. If only it was enough for you to say I'm not a racist. If it was just that simple to solve this problem. But this is not a fantasy. This is the real world. It's like any type of relationship. Let's say you're married, husband and wife. Wife cheats on the husband or husband cheats on the wife. You guys are having fights 10 years straight. You guys are at each other's throats. You want to save your marriage. You don't save the marriage by just not talking about the thing that the other person did. You don't save the marriage by pretending like, okay, from this point forward, we're just never going to talk about all this stuff. We're going to pretend like there's no residue, that there's been no ramifications for all that stuff. We're going to just pretend all that didn't happen and move forward. That's not how this works. Especially not if your side is the perpetrator. I don't get to bash your face into a wall and then go, okay, it's time to move past this. Let's get along. Let's not fight anymore. I didn't bash your face into a wall. You had my face against a wall. So now you got to sit down, shut up, and you got to hear how I feel about this thing. You have to hear me talk about how what I see in you that would make you such a vile person that you would do this. You need to sit here and hear me talk about how our environment can change, because whether you realize it or not, every once in a while you flinch at me like you might push my face into a wall, and I feel some kind of way about it. You have to be willing to do that, or you're full of shit. But they're not capable of that. And I had to throw it out, and I must say, not just in the past, because I know how you, plural, like to say it is all in the past, but today as well, because that's the other thing white people like to do. This is all in the past. Slavery is over. No, fool, there are things going on today. I don't have to point to slavery to point out your shenanigans. I can point out some 2020 shenanigans, some 2019 shenanigans. It says that it seems that anything less than pretending there is no significant social residue that needs to be addressed, and until it is addressed, that it can be emotionally damaging and even dangerous for a Black person to be isolated amongst whites will not do. You push this belief, evident in your comment, despite many Black people saying it was damaging for them. You don't get to tell people what is or is not damaging to them. How are you as a white person? And this is me trying to just get him to see himself. Like, look at yourself in the mirror. How do you as a white person come to a space, watch a video with a bunch of Black people on it, and then say, no, you guys are all racist? How could you dare say Black people can't just be around only white people? We can say it because people are talking about what that was like for them and how it was bad. That's how we can say it. You can't dispute that. You don't get to say, no, it wasn't bad. No, that's not a nice thing for you to say that. No, we get to say it. We get to say it if that's our experience, if that's what we've lived through, and that's how we feel, because that is what happened, is we experienced racism. We experienced, what is the new terminology? Racial battle fatigue, microaggressions by white people. Then you know what? You don't get to come here and invalidate it because you don't like it. It doesn't sound, it wasn't the nice huggy stuff that you like. So I'm still trying to talk to this. I said the exceptions only prove the rule. The random Black person that didn't have a problem just proves that most Black people do. That's just food for thought. I said, I do not have the expectation that you will agree or even be able to understand in a meaningful way what I have said, which is why so many of my people feel it is a waste of time to engage yours in meaningful, honest dialogue. Y'all, I kept it 100 with him. I kept it all the way real with him. I spoke to him with respect. I acknowledge the fact that I know that you are incapable of understanding me, even though I'm speaking in clear English to you. You will not be capable of receiving what I am saying because you're a racist. Just straight up. That's really what it is. I mean, I didn't call him a racist at that time, but I could just tell where this was going. Okay? My spidey sense told me that he was not going to be able to receive what I was saying, no matter how politely I put it. This is why Black people don't ever want to talk to white people like that. This is why Black people who are integrationists, they just pretend like the stuff that goes on isn't going on because they know they can't really have a discussion about it. White people are not open to an honest discussion. That's not part of, and again, you will meet the rare white. It is possible. I have had this happen. But it is like finding a purple unicorn under a rainbow holding a pot of gold. To find a white person who can sit through the uncomfortableness of real and honest dialogue. I said nobody wants to feel like they are on the team of the bad guys, especially when they feel they do not share their views. I recognize that. I recognize the problem with a lot of these liberal white people is that they don't want to feel like they are being lumped in with racists because they don't feel like they're racist. So they get offended. Like, please don't lump me in with those bad people. I'm not a bad person. This is how these people feel. I understand that you feel that way. I understand. I get that. But if you do not see yourself in the prototype put forth, why make a defense as if it doesn't exist? That's the next thing I said to him. Even if you felt that it's not you, why would you come here and pretend like it's none of you? That's my question for every liberal white person who thinks they're not racist. Even if you don't like what we're saying, why are you pretending like all white people are like you? You know that there are some racist white people out there. You know how some white people behave. You're not dumb. So even if you felt you were on some separate island from other white people, why make a defense like it's not possible for Black people to encounter bad white people? That just demonstrates your racism. It demonstrates that you're not progressive at all. So this is what I say to this dude in the nicest possible way. I'm super nice. You guys can go read the comment for yourself. It's on that video. And so, true to form, because you know what? He's a racist. True to form, he doesn't understand anything I said. He's just even more offended. But you know what? I knew that was going to happen. I knew that was going to happen to him. He said, at Irene Yvette, your first point is completely inaccurate. It does not require action en masse. He said racism does not require action en masse. He said, who is teaching you this BS? He said racism doesn't require action en masse. I'm sorry. Did slavery take action en masse? Did the mass genocide of 10 million people in the Congo take action en masse? At the Berlin Conference, did just 2 white people get together and decide to chop up Africa, or did all the European countries do it? When the Pilgrims came to America, did just one white person go out there and start terrorizing Indians, or were they all doing it? Or most of them doing it? Did it take action of a group of people to do that? When the Portuguese and the Spanish went to South America and started killing all the natives and brought over slaves from Africa, was it just 1 or 2 Portuguese people that did that? Huh? Was it just 1 or 2 Spanish people that did that? Or was it a group? Was it a concentrated effort by the country of Spain and the country of Portugal? In Australia, was it just 1 or 2 British people who killed every single Tasmanian? Or was it an active attempt by Great Britain? You know, a whole country. At the Andaman Islands, at the human safari, is there just one Indian guy over there selling tickets to a safari? Or is that a state sanctioned safari? When the great Andamanese were annihilated by the British, and they're all dead now, that's genocide. Did one British guy just go to the Great Andaman Islands and kill all of the Great Andamanese people by himself? Or did the country of Great Britain do that work? Who's teaching me this BS? Is this a real? This is what I'm talking about. This is what I'm talking about. What do you mean it doesn't take action in mass? Who's teaching me this BS? History. I own books. I recognize world history. Who's teaching you to be obtuse? That's what I want to know. Who's teaching you to be obtuse? Mass incarceration, the Black laws. Did one white guy go out there and decide to start locking up Black people? When they were pumping drugs into Black communities, was it just one CIA official that did that by himself? Racism does require political and social agreement to engage in bigotry in mass. It requires that. It requires a collective. An individual bigot is just a bigot. But when a bunch of hateful people get together and exercise social and political power over the people they hate, we call that racism. But he wants to know who's teaching me this BS. I don't know. Your people taught me this. Your people taught me this. Your people taught me. They taught me in Africa. They taught me in South America. They taught me in Australia. They taught me in Asia. They taught me here in America. Your people taught me it has to be in mass. That's who taught me. But this is like I knew he was going to get offended because that is what they do. These are racists, these liberal racists. I cannot stand liberal racists. I much prefer people who are openly racist. I hate liberal racists. I hate them with a passion. They infuriate me because you are hateful and you are disingenuous and you cover it up by pretending like the very people that you hate are the bad guys. They are the worst type of racists. I cannot stand them. There is not an honest bone in a liberal racist body. That is why they are dangerous, because they are liars. I would rather deal with an overt racist any day of the week over a liberal racist, because they say stupid shit like, who taught you that racism is enacted in mass? As if we all didn't take a world history class. I'm just trying to make it make sense. I know that the Indians didn't get on those reservations because one white dude with a gun put them there. Like literally. So he goes, then you say you don't believe in race, yet you say you're kind. Okay, again, my belief in race has nothing to do with the reality of how things work. And your kind also speaks to a mentality, right? That is shared. You're kind. You're kind. I'm sticking by what I said. He said, you try to sound so smart, but are truly uneducated and experienced in life or culture. Oh, see, remember what I said earlier when I told him that it would take time for his people to be indoctrinated from the idea that they know more than everybody else? You've always been taught your people are smarter. You've always been taught my people are stupid. So naturally, you're going to think that you know more than me. It doesn't matter that my points were extremely solid and I was respectful towards you because you are a racist in your heart. The smart white man and dumb black woman trope is what you pull out of your butt next. I am uneducated and inexperienced in life or culture, he believes. He has no evidence of this other than the fact that I'm black and I said something he doesn't like, made him feel some kind of way. No evidence of this other than a black girl said something I don't like. But he felt qualified to make that statement. He felt qualified to make the statement. And then, of course, he pulled out the other thing they always pull out. You guys tell me if you've ever heard this before. Good luck in life with that victim mentality. Oh, you're playing the victim. He just became a whole textbook racist all of a sudden, didn't he? See how that switch flipped? Textbook racism. I hope you're able to put the indoctrination of hate aside and grow as a productive leader in your community. Word. I said, Matt Crump, you sound like a racist. Y'all back me up on this. Does he not sound like a textbook racist? I said, Matt Crump, you sound like a racist. Just FYI, just so you know. You may not know that you sound like a racist, but I've heard that. I've heard all those words before. That's a message I've heard before, and they came out of a mouth of a racist. You may not be a racist, but you're playing one on the internet, okay? You're playing one on the internet. I guarantee if I read your comment to any black person, they have heard a racist white person say something very similar to them. You may not be a racist, but you sort of are quacking like a racist. I said my personal beliefs have nothing to do with how society functions. Lastly, I am no victim. Your comment is run of the mill. His comment is what every white person says when they run out of intellectual things to say to you. You are dumb. I am smarter than you. You don't know anything, and you're playing victim. Boom. They won the argument. That's the last resort of the racist white. Every black person knows this. The last resort of a racist white person is to say that you are dumb and you're playing victim. When they have no, because I said a lot of crap to him. I said all kinds of, I talked to him like he had a brain in his head. I mean, I tried, y'all. I broke it down to the sweetest, most well-refined baby food level I could. I was as nice as I could possibly be. And his response was the same thing white people everywhere have done since the beginning of time when you back them into a corner and they really have nothing to say. You're dumb and you're playing victim. Really? That's what you got? I'm stupid and I'm playing the victim? I said, your comment is run of the mill. It is cookie cutter down to the last word. And it proves my point. Thank you. And that's why I made this video. That is why I made this video. I made it because as black people, we know that this happens. But a lot of white people watch my channel. And I'm going to say this. This is why we never want to talk to you guys. Right here. Just right here. Right here. Right here. Right here. Right here at this point is the problem. This is the whole problem. I tried, y'all, I tried so hard. You guys, I tried so hard. I tried to explain it to him as if he might actually get it. I tried to explain racism to him. You are mistaken. I am not being racist. This is what racism is. I tried to explain that if a white person said it to him, because he's just a textbook white guy, right? If a white person did it, everybody would be mad. Isn't that what they love to say? If a white person did it, if a white person did it, that's what racists say all the time. If a white person did it, that's like, oh my gosh, like, is there a racist handbook out here somewhere? Racism for 2020? Key points of racism for 2020. If a white person did it, it wouldn't be okay. Key point number 2 for racism of 2020, don't play the victim. Key point number 3 for racism 2020, you're stupid. It's like, oh my gosh, what do you want from me? If a white person did it, it wouldn't be the same because we don't have the same history. That's what I have to say to if a white person did it. When my people go around terrorizing the whole planet for 1,000 years straight, we can talk about the if a white person did it scenario. Until then, we can't have that conversation. I don't understand. I don't understand the argument. And then I even try to say, it's the trouble with you being so racially progressive is that you're not progressive at all. You're regressive. And I even try to sympathize with him. Look, I know you don't want to be the bad guy. I know you don't want to be compared to racist people. But why would you pretend that there aren't racist people out there, even if you didn't think it was you? Why are you in my comment section pretending racism doesn't exist? I don't understand. Y'all, I tried everything with this man. I tried it all. And all he had is you're stupid and you're playing victim. So anyway, for the future white people who watch my videos, because I know you guys watch my videos, okay? And you are welcome to watch my videos. I'm not trying to scare you off the channel. Can you please avoid this commentary? I mean, it becomes offensive the minute you open up your mouth. I was very nice to this man, but honestly, when he said if a white person did it, I was pretty much done talking to him at that point. I was like, oh, okay, he's one of those. He's one of these if a white person did it people. He's one of these people that's like, if a white person did it, you would never stand for this. It's like, it's not the same. He's one of those don't play the victim people. A victim has never told anybody that they feel that there should be a revolution. That's the opposite of a victim. But I thought that this would just be a good learning opportunity for us all. And honestly, it's part of my frustration. Even if I really wanted to vibe with like the whole idea, like I said, it's one white person out of 50,000. Right? You might in your lifetime meet one, and if you're lucky, two white people that you can truly have an honest conversation with, who are not immediately going to crawl into their racist hole and not realize that they're there. It happens with automaticity. It's like an automatic response. They just start blurting out racist stuff. They don't even know that they're doing it. Which was exactly my point. This is why I say we need social political revolution, because it's past reason at this point. It's like you can't have a conversation about it at this point. We're past that. We're on a whole nother level. Just some food for thought. My conversation with Matt Crump. Okay? I'll talk to you guys later.